Okay, the recommendation is that City Council terminate the exclusive sublease listing agreement, CMP listing agreement between the City of Pensacola and CBRE Incorporated.
Yes, Ms. Myers.
I would like to ask that that item be pulled. That agreement, I don't recall that Councilman Bare included the airport agreement and the port agreement.
Here, Ms. Myers, so you're making a motion to pull this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's see if we can get a second before we talk about it.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Myers.
Okay. Well, I don't think we have enough information. This agreement is tied to the termination date of the airport and the port listing agreement. So, as far as I know, this listing agreement has already terminated back in February. So I see no reason to go forward with a item that, number one, we haven't been given the information that it has been extended further, even though, according to paragraph 4, it is still in effect. But I think we have incomplete information. And as far as I know, the listing agreement terminated in February. So this is really a meaningless gesture, in my opinion.
Yes, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, in my briefing with CBRE, I was informed at that time that the mayor had, in fact, signed a one-year extension in February of 2015. Is that true, Mr. Olson? Do you know? I mean, if that's the case and he has authority to do that, then we do have a existing contract with him.
No, the leasing or the listing agreements, both of them have expired and have not been renewed.
Okay. This is a separate listing agreement for the Maritime Park. It may have been executed around the same time as the others, but it exists separately as the CMPA listing agreement. And I really, just like I don't know who actually approved the RFP, I don't know who signed this particular, if there was an extension or not. But, you know, I think that there is grounds to believe that this could still be in effect, and that's why I'm asking for a termination of it. Thank you.
Mr. Olson has just said that those listing agreements terminated. That means this is terminated. Now, paragraph 4 says that for 180 days after the termination of the listing agreement, that they still have the right to receive commissions and so forth based on if anybody that they've contacted or reached out to comes forward. That is standard real estate practice. At least I think it is. We have a realtor or two here. But for all practical purposes, this has not been extended. And this is just an exercise in what? You can't terminate something that's already terminated.
Yes, Mr. Wingate.
Yeah. Is the city negotiating with CBRE on someone to occupy some parcels at CMP? Is that ongoing or not?
Yes. I mean, we are continuing, as Councilmember Myers said, that these. So let me back up again to make sure that the language I used is correct. So the two listing agreements have expired, but paragraph 4 of the listing agreement is still in effect.
I'm going to support this moving forward for Thursday night. I see CBRE in the audience. I'd like to give them an opportunity to maybe answer some of these questions. Although I don't know what I'll do on Thursday night, I'd like to see this move forward. Let's get this fleshed out this week, if possible. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Canowin.
I would like to see things get fleshed out as well, but I would also like to see us in a position where we would be able to have someone there to answer some questions. We also need someone there Thursday night to be able to answer some legal questions, a person who is an attorney that's going to be versed in some legal issues in reference to this, because we are talking about a contract We are talking about some complexities here that, maybe just a little bit above my head in real estate because I don't understand all of it and I don't understand the basis of it. So on Thursday, when I have some questions, and when out in the flushing, I want to be able to have somebody there that not only CBRE to answer some basic questions of how we got into this entanglement, but also some legal questions on behalf of the CMPA, the City of Pensacola, and someone who's going to be there as an expert for this city to answer some questions. Now, if the city is not going to be able to have somebody there to answer those questions for us, I think that we'll be at a disadvantage and to be able to come up with some conclusions and come up with some of the best answers. So we're going to need somebody there as well to answer some questions.
Well, I think if we had a clear understanding of how the city is proceeding with this, I think that would help more than a legal opinion on what's going on. If they're moving forward and trying to bring these developers in, then it should come out in clear language that that's what they're doing.
Yes, Ms. Myers.
Well, if you are terminating the listing agreement, which is already terminated, on the grounds of breach of contract, I think that calls for a legal opinion. That's a very serious allegation, and it calls for a legal opinion. And so I'd like to know, if it goes forward, who's going to be there to give us a legal opinion before council votes to terminate. Well, I feel like it's already terminated. So before you terminate a contract for breach of contract, that seems to me a legal issue for the city attorney. And do we have a city attorney at this point?
We do have a city attorney, and Ms. Bowling will be here. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, but she will be here Thursday night.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Myers.
Well, I think that this is an appropriate issue because it calls for a legal conclusion of law to have an attorney's opinion before council votes for it.
So you still have the motion to remove it?
I still have the motion.
Okay.
Because we do, I don't think between now and Thursday we're going to have the information council needs to make a legal determination that this company has breached this listing agreement. And even if they have,
Okay.
the listing agreement has been terminated. So the issue is, are you trying to terminate paragraph 4?
Okay. Ms. Kano.
It's not part of Councilman Bare's recommendation.
Yes, Ms. Canoway.
Yes. And again, like I say this, trying to go through and look at everything, trying to determine whether or not we're in the right posture here. There have been some, and to be open and fair, I met with the CBRE and timelines and some allegations made that some people, staff people, were made aware of certain things that were going on and certain things that were, that this was not a secret or anything. I think that because of that we need time to make sure that these questions are answered, and so that everybody will be in a position to answer correctly and clearly how we got into this particular situation, and not just have an open-ended discussion about this. We're talking about one of the best companies in the country as far as marketing properties. We're talking about our our Community Maritime Park, which is some of the best property in the city of Pensacola and in the county, the complexity of that, as well as the city itself. So we need that some time to make sure that we have a summary from that CMPA that represent us on this and our city on how we got into this entanglement as a city, to make sure that we can make some clear decisions on whether or not there was a breach and whether or not someone acted unethically in this situation. And that's all I'm going to say on it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bare? Yes, Councilman Bare.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's very difficult to do this because you can't debate the merits of the issue, but what I'm asking is for you to vote against Ms. Myers' motion and to bring this forward, and that's all I'm asking at this point. I think, our attorney will be there. I think we can have the discussion, and what I'm asking for is a termination of the entire contract, which would include paragraph 4 as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council members? Yes, Mr. Spencer?
I understand that this could be a little bit perplexing and confusing, and I want to make sure fellow council members understand, Mr. President, but I agree there are way too many other outstanding issues that I think are related to even this motion to terminate the listing, and therefore I support the motion and the second to not have this move forward.
Okay. Any other count? Yes, Ms. Myers.
Well, I think if you're now expanding this to paragraph number 4, you are really walking on extremely dangerous territory in terms of liability. If this happens, that's all I'm going to say about that. And I'm not willing to put the city in that position. So, terminating the listing agreement is one thing, and so that they're not listing or marketing. But to terminate paragraph 4, no.
Okay.
That's way beyond, unless you get a really good legal opinion from a very good real estate attorney. I'm not going there.
Okay. We do have someone from the audience, Ms. Dubuson.
Yes, since this meeting is to understand if you folks have all the information that before it proceeds forward, I was wondering if all of you have received any kind of a copy of a written notice from CBRE that they plan to move from one status of the simple agent to the transactional, and do you have copies of minutes of the CMPA having approved that as per the contract? If you have that, then I would suggest you do what Mr. Bare has asked. If you do not, then I think Councilwoman Myers is exactly there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Myers.
Well, I can respond to the question she asked because it's in the listing agreement. They preserve the right to be a transactional broker in certain situations.
Yes, ma'am, but it's my understanding that it states that they will make requests in written form to the CMPA, and the CMPA will approve that request before it is acted on. And that's the part that seems to be missing. Everyone keeps talking about the confusion. I think the confusion is that there's been a lot of suggestions that certain staff members may have given authority, but when the contract says that a written notice and request will be given and acted upon by the CMPA, then you should have a record of that if it did occur. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Myers.
I don't have a record. So there again, she's asking for information that needs to be obtained from somebody, CMPA or whoever keeps their records, and at this point I don't know who that is, since they've had a change in staff.
Well, that's the reason we're here, is if you don't have the proper information you need, then
So
I'm assuming that's why you made the motion.
She's asking even supports my motion even stronger.
Okay. Any other council members? No? Okay. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. All opposed? All right. Motion passes. Item will be moved to next meeting.